Hi everyone, and welcome to the Strimzi Community Meeting on November 28th, 2024. So let's go through the regular agenda. We have here some PRs and issues. Yeah, let's see, I actually didn't add these ones. This was you, Jakob, adding this one on the list?
Yeah, so I edited it. It's a PR open from some user. Personally, it seems to me like it's fixing something what's not broken or not really fixing it, just changing something what's not broken. So I'm not overly excited about it, but I'm curious what others think. And yeah, if others want to approve it and merge it, then yeah, they should approve it and merge it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to skim through the
Yeah, I
description,
edited quite
understand.
last minute to the agenda. If you think we should have more time for people to go through it, we can leave it for next time.
Well, it depends.
I,
If you want to kind of summarize it and we want to discuss right now, otherwise, yeah, I think so. It's better to go through
well, the
offline.
summary is that it removes one value with one field with a dummy value, which is then later replaced by cert manager and basically removes it from the installation.
You are referring to this one,
Yeah, exactly.
and
The
this should fix what?
CG equals, it's basically an empty string.
Okay, because this user is having an issue with that field.
So the user says that I don't know, whatever he's using, Argo or some tool like that has some issue with it.
Flux.
Yeah, Flux, I guess. But as
Okay,
with all of these changes, right, it's never completely clear whether fixing something like this for Flux breaks it for someone with Argo or with some other tool and so on, right? So like that's the inherent risk of this change, that maybe it fixes it for this user, but it breaks it for 5 other users.
so sorry maybe for a stupid question, because I'm not the drain cleaner expert. Why we need this field here? Why we have this kind of placeholder, which is just a space?
So I don't know if we need it. So we basically set it with an empty value, but
Mhm.
as part of the installation, the cert manager replaces it with the actual value generated by the cert manager.
Okay. So you think that if we remove the field, cert manager is not going to find it and not replacing it? Something
I
like that?
don't think is necessarily cert manager, right? But cert manager finds it when you install it with Flux as well. The problem as suggested by the user is that Flux doesn't seem to like that it's here with the empty value and then cert manager adds it with a different value. And you can easily imagine that not having the field there in the installation files and having it there after cert manager injects it might cause the problem in some other tool, right? That's like I don't know if it does cause the problem with some other tool, but it's definitely not something what's not imaginable.
Okay. And try to get the gist of the discussion you had with him. do you think that there is anything that we can ask to the user? I don't know, to try with some other tool, or if they have any way workaround if we don't accept the PR?
I guess the workaround is to tell Flux to ignore the diff or something like that. I don't know. You can definitely ask the user if he has some workaround. As for testing with other tools, I'm sure you can ask the user whatever you want, right? But what are the tools that it might break
Okay, let's
to
see.
test with, right? That's kind of the challenge.
Yeah. Let's see if something like this works before refusing and close the PR. It's reverting back, right, to the empty value. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's reverting back. I think it's probably just complaining.
It says Flux wants to revert it to the fake. It's complaining, but okay.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's actually reverting or just some warning somewhere.
Does it sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay. Mhm. There was, okay, yes, sorry. We are not in the triage. Now, a couple of Strimzi MQTT bridge pull requests.
So I edit those as well, mostly because they seem to be quite old. So maybe we should decide what to do with them and either close them or.
Well, it's weird that, they are on October, so I should be subscribed to this repo. Yes, so maybe I just missed that. Well, to be honest, I think that we can, so this is an update on Jetty. I guess that we can merge this one.
I think it actually has a conflict now, which you would need to resolve
Yeah,
first.
yes, okay.
I guess
And
this one is more complicated.
yeah, I remember about this one. It's actually 1 year old. Yeah, they want the Helm chart installation files to be added to the MQTT repo, right? But we ended with nothing. Well, I don't know. It's not on our roadmap or on our high priorities list working on the MQTT bridge because it came out by LFX mentoring as a POC. Maybe we can ask, yes, 1 year later. I don't know if the user is interesting to contributing. This
So do
is
we want to have some customized support in there?
no. I was referring the Helm charts because I remember that at some point the user was asking for Helm charts, or I'm wrong. Oh, were you saying that we had Helm chart,
Yeah,
right?
so like we don't use customize anywhere else.
No, yeah, I agree. Yes.
And like last time I tried it, the problem was that support for customize breaks just using kubectl apply and makes that much harder. So
No, yeah.
I would be a bit careful about adding just customize. if the user would want to add some kind of Helm chart, then yeah, in general, if we don't plan anytime soon any integration into Strimzi cluster operator as a custom resource, I guess Helm is something what we use in other places as well. So I think that would be reasonable.
Something like this. Sorry, I was scrolling. I assume silence is means okay.
Yeah, I was muted.
Okay.
On the end of the second line, maybe you can change the somewhere else to in other Strimzi projects.
Yes. And I guess we also needs triage for the next time, right?
It's PR. I don't know if it
Oh, yes,
shows up
right.
in the.
It's PR.
So I actually that. Yeah, let's comment on this one and then we can discuss it on the next point.
Sorry, you mean back to the agenda?
No, you can submit the comment there and then we can.
Yeah, I already submitted the comment.
Yeah, okay. So if you go back to the agenda,
Yep.
then the next point I added there is I actually wanted to add here a link for all the open PRs because it seems like in these smaller projects we often forget that we have something open. But one of the things is that we have a lot of PRs in the archived repositories in Canary, in the old UI attempt, and so on. And these show up in all these filters. So I guess what we can do, and unfortunately, you can't just close them when the project is archived. So I guess what we can do, if everyone agrees with it, we can unarchive them, close the PRs, and then archive them again.
Yeah.
If that's
Yeah.
fine with everyone, I can try to find some time to do it.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
As a lesson learned for everyone, yeah, we should close the PRs before we actually archive it in the first place.
Thank you, Jakub. Okay, I will take a look on this, yeah, waiting for the user, and at some point I will just close it. And also merge this one, resolving the conflict. Okay. Okay, anyone has any other PRs or issues to discuss? It seems not, so let's move on with proposals. I had some of them. I don't know if there are all of my proposal, or there are some others. Yeah, I just added the ones, the new ones that we had after the last meeting. This is about from Kyle. This is about adding the progress status during a rebalancing by cruise control on the Kafka rebalance custom resource. So for people who are, it's just raising this for people who are interested to it. If you can take a look, this is the first one. The other one is from Federico about adopting the Kafka Connect health check endpoint. And I see that was already approved by 2 maintainers. So yeah, I'm the first one who should take a look at it. And then from you, Jakob, yeah, add support for mounting CSI volumes, which seems to get a good number of reviewers. So yeah, for the others missing this.
It's already open for some time, so if anyone has some comments on this, please have a look at it. Otherwise, I might close it Friday evening if nobody raise any new comments or says that they want more time.
Yep. Yeah, this is another one. Again, I have to review it. Jacob, you were the only one, but I didn't look at your comments yet. So I guess I will tag the other reviewers and take a look at it as well. Yes, this one from Kate for a proposal about external certificate manager. So the work that Kate is doing around certificate management. Thank you, Kate, because it's a huge improvement. And yeah, even in this case, I will tag other reviewers, and I am one of the people missing.
Now I have a few outstanding comments still to address on this. So I'll be doing that hopefully soon.
Yeah, thank you.
I will add the reviewers during the call now, Paolo.
Should we add one by one or just maintainers? I usually use maintainers. Are you okay with that, or?
I add people one by one.
So who is missing?
But as I said, I will do it. Just continue the call.
Okay.
I can do it in the background.
Thank you. Even for the previous one, the watch multiple namespaces. And this one. Yes, again, and it seems to be open since 2 weeks. So I guess that's time for all the other reviewers to jump in. And I guess that this one is also a related pull request. Yep. Which of course, I guess there are no reviews because at least for now, Jakob is still discussing the proposal. So we will need to jump on it first.
So you should not wait for the reviews for someone else to be happy with it, right? Because that creates this kind of loop. When I give some comments, I approve it, then someone comes later and gives some comments which I don't agree with, so I have to go back and unapprove it and so on, right? So just because I edit there a comment doesn't in general mean you should not go to review it.
No, yes, I'm not saying that we should not go. It's just a matter of time.
That said, I don't think this has any impact anymore, right? Because even if we by any chance approved it tomorrow, it will get into Strimzi 45 and Strimzi 46 will not support Zookeeper anymore. So there won't be any downgrade of zookeeper-based clusters to Strimzi 045.
Mm.
So I think the core idea is good, but at this point, the only thing it can focus on is the craft future.
Yeah, from your kind of summary, I would agree. Anyway, I will go and take a look at the proposal itself. Okay. There are any other proposals that someone want to highlight? Nope. So, issue triage. The best part of the call. Let's go with the first one. I guess that this one was already addressed from Jagum. I was taking a look at
So
this.
I added the needs triage there because I think we need to re-triage it. So if you look at the title of the issue, it's about passing secrets to Kafka Connect build container.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually supported now.
With volumes, right?
With the volumes, yeah. So the content then, like in the description itself, it talks about various ways how to do the authentication when downloading the credentials. And I think there are some more ways if you would read through the various comments. So if you scroll down to the last comment I made, I kind of try to propose several different things we can do with this. Given that this is open since 2021 and we have done anything, I guess one option is to say that if you need this kind of authentication, use the Docker file instead of the connect build and be done with it. Other option is that we can close this because you can now mount the secrets, but we can ask users to open separate issues for some specific authentication mechanism that they want to have supported. And then the next option is to keep this issue open and try to figure within this issue what might be the actual different mechanisms that would make sense to be supported. But
So,
I think it just needs some kind of cleanup because the name is a bit confusing, but the name of the issue is actually something we can do now. And for the rest, it's a bit mix of various different things in various different comments, which is hard to kind of orient yourself in. So
my only concern is that going through the second or the third one as proposed solutions, we are going to have something specific every time there is a new different authentication mechanism asked by the users, while the first one will be, yeah, as you say, it provides ultimate flexibility. It's on the users, but at least there is no much workload on us, like, for example, all the kind of testing and maintaining it, right?
yeah, that's true. And I'm not sure I mean, it has some advantages and some disadvantages, right? I personally don't recommend to use the Kafka Connect build, for example, in production, because you probably should build the image in the CI and test it in your tests before using it in production, right? On the other hand, using the Kafka Connect build makes it, for example, much easier to handle upgrades because when you do upgrade, it automatically rebuilds the image. Whereas if you are building the image somewhere out of band in the CI, you have to keep in mind that I'm now upgrading Strimzi, so I need to build for a new connect image first. Then I need to kind of, in a synchronous way, update the Kafka Connect resource and upgrade the operator. So that's a bit messy. So I can see some value in using the Kafka Connect build. I agree that there might be many different ways how to achieve something. I guess I'm aware of at least 4 different. One is some kind of Maven authentication. One is HTTP basic authentication. You have different headers such as OAuth, bearer tokens, and so on. And obviously you can have MTLS on the HTTP level as well. So it can easily be a mess. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what to do about this, but yeah, if someone writes a reasonable proposal how to cover it, maybe it's not something I would be strictly opposed to.
Yeah. So I saw several people involved on this. So it seems that, or at least a couple of people, other than you, 3 people.
Yeah, one of the problem is that the issue is super old, right? So
Yeah, the only
I
latest
think that's,
comment is from
yeah,
here.
that's kind of one of the appeals of which I saw in closing this, as in you can now mount the secrets and please open separate issues for the different authentication mechanisms you might want. Because you actually you might get some fresh interest, right? Whereas right now you can, of course, ask the people who commented on it in the past. But yeah, from my experience, quite often the people who opened some issue in 2021 might have moved on and so on.
Yeah. Maybe no one is going to open issues. It's also possible that, at least for now or for some time, no one is going to open issues.
Well, there was interest 3 weeks ago, right? So I think the interest is popping up again and again. But having it as this kind of mishmash in one issue makes it quite hard to judge
Yeah.
what's for example the interest for some kind of OAuth or MTLS and so on, you know.
I don't know, something like this.
Yeah, maybe you can add kind of to a new line or something like, please, if you are interested in authentication in artifacts, open a separate issue and make sure it clearly describes what kind of mechanism you want to use or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe tell them to link this issue so that it's easy to find. Yeah, maybe like this.
Okay. Yep. So I'm going to close this one.
Yeah.
Close as not planned.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, it's complicated here as the title is done.
Let's.
You don't have to remove it from the closed issues.
Ah, okay. It will not show up in the filter, right?
No.
Add support for open feature. Yeah, I went through this. I was sure that we already closed this one, but we didn't.
So we closed the proposal which
Yeah.
Marosh opened, but it was not necessarily clear to me if we decided to close this as well or not. So that's why I added the label to get it through the triage again.
Yeah, on my side, as we discussed on the proposal and offline, right now I don't see big advantages to add this, even because our feature gates anyway are even reducing for now. So
Yeah,
I
I
would
think
be
I just
close
forgot
it.
to close this issue. So I think we can freely close it.
Right, then close it.
Okay. And this one, we already had the triage on that. And Jakob,
So I tried to reproduce it during the weekend and it worked fine for me. And the user didn't provide it any additional information, so I guess we should close it.
yeah. This one, Maros, you have any
Yeah, I
thoughts?
think there were plenty of the comments, but we eventually, I think, Mikhail changed the, not changed it, but he decided, or we somehow decided that he will use the test container clients instead of adding the encapsulation scripts into the test container because it doesn't make any sense, I think. So I think he already in his PR used the test clients images to just run it. So I think we should close this PR, this issue.
So I guess the thing to triage here now is the connect support, right?
Yes, yes, yes. For Connect, I don't see any like problem to not implement it, I think. Because when I was thinking about it, it would mean that I think Mikhail is using it in the metrics reporter now. And it just follows how we create like Strimzi, Kafka cluster, etc. So I think I don't have any major objections to not just include also Connect.
So I think one nice thing would be to have a proposal describing how the API should look like, how should it work, and so on. Because I think the way we have done it for the Kafka stuff is very chaotic and confusing. So having that somehow formalized would probably be of an advantage.
Something
I
that
think
formalizes what Michael provided in this PR, right?
Yeah, like how it will be used, how will the APIs look like, and so on.
Yeah.
so.
Someone
I think
was talking. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
so. I think that what's tricky is that how much do you want to, how much do you want to let, how much of connects do we want basically? So here in my POC, I start a single worker in distributed node, and that's it. For the Kafka containers, so that's the Kafka container thing, but there's also the Kafka cluster that starts multiple containers all together. And so here for Connect, you could in theory say, I want to have a Connect cluster and I want n workers, get them configured this way and that way. Obviously, it's a lot more work. Here, I've done like the simplest. Well, I could have started doing standalone mode even simpler, but I mean, it's really a matter of just change one line 161 if you want. But yeah, I've really done the easiest thing. You can start only a single thing. Maybe if you were to start multiple instances, you could maybe configure them to work together, but I've not tried that. So, and also in the Kafka tools here, or the Kafka container tools here, we have tons of options for configurations, and here I've really added the bare minimum, really. So I think the only quality of life is in the builder. There's a way to enable the, yeah, you see it's all hard coded. Well, there's a way to override the config, but I think the only quality of life added is to add the file connectors in the builder. You can say, yeah, I want them. That's the code here on 191. Otherwise, it's really a bare bone. You can you say, I want to connect worker. You can provide some config. You can set if you want the file collector or not, and that's it. And then you use only a getter to get the REST API, and then you have to, if you want to start something, you have to basically use the REST API yourself. I mean, are we happy? I mean, I'm happy to open a proposal with just that, but are we fine with just having that? I've not really thought of like what if we wanted to, like, is this problematic, or would this, if in 6 months we want to add support for creating a Connect cluster, like how many changes we have to do to that? I don't know. And obviously,
So I think it's fine to start small, but that's where is a lot of the value of the proposal, to think through what might be needed, what might be the design implications for what we do today to make it extensible for the future and so on, right?
yeah.
So, like, that's why, for example, having a proposal which describes how the APIs are looking like to use it and so on, and what are the possible future extension points and things like that. That's where that fits in, right? So that we don't necessarily need a better way how to specify more containers today, but we want to have the API allow it to easily extend it in the future, right?
Yeah, basically, you kind of have to POC that you can build a Connect cluster on that. I mean, otherwise, I can't really, through text, I can't really convince you, oh, I'm sure that the API I've written here is extensible in the future when we want to, you know what I mean?
It's
It's
not
like
that
you,
easy to convince me about something what I don't think.
yeah, well, I know that already. So So unless I can prove to you through a POC, okay, look, this is what we could do in the future. I think it's gonna be hard in the proposal to say, well, I'm confident this API will allow us to have connect cluster in the future.
So that's fine, but that's where the comments in the proposal are. Can be used to collect the possible ideas how to make this useful in the future, right?
Yeah, I guess input also from Maros, Lukasz, Jakob, but basically I've done a similar work. I mean, here I've basically copied. I mean, I've literally copied the Kafka container file and I just changed.
Yeah, maybe
Remove the stuff I don't want.
maybe you
So
copied
having
the
the right
wrong one,
input
right? Maybe it's better to start by copying the Kafka cluster builder.
Yeah, so that's both. So I guess the Kafka cluster is basically a container of Kafka
Yeah,
containers.
but that's my main concern, right? Like if you look at running the Kafka cluster itself, this strange way with the Strimzi Kafka container and then the Kafka cluster or however it's called, that's not exactly user-friendly. It has broken
Pretty much
several
agree.
times. It didn't work properly, right? So like that's pretty much the reason why I'm suggesting having a proposal to discuss this properly, because I guess that's what we were missing in the past, and that's why, at least from the user perspective, it was as bad as it was. Maybe it's a bit better now, but like that's why I think we should at least try to make it better today for what
Yeah,
we are adding.
fair enough. I, I guess the main thing I like to get from this call is like, do we agree that this is the place where we will, like, if we want to be able to run a connect cluster, this would be the place to do the work, right? Or do we not even agree on that and it's still to be discussed in the proposal?
So in Strimzi operators, we run connect directly, including a custom connector plugin. And we never had any need to add the test container. And to be honest, from my experience, test containers make things only worse from when you can run them directly. But
So do
I
you
guess for the metrics
directly?
reporter, you see some value for that. Maybe someone will see some value for that in testing connectors, right? So
So what do you mean to say run them directly? You just mean run the Strimzi image through the upstream test container?
no, we run it directly from the unit test. We just start Kafka Connect
I
in the same
start
JVM.
Kafka Connect. Okay. So I think that's also a point we debated on the threads, that to me that's not, I don't think that's best practice to start things that open ports locally. I would rather have everything containerized.
I think that's a fair point, but the reality is that in most cases, as long as you can run it locally, directly in the JVM, it's much more reliable and works much better than the test containers. But I unlike the clients, which I think for me didn't make much sense. Adding the connect to the test container does make some sense. Adding Mirror Maker 2 would not make sense to me probably, or nobody explain it. But I personally would not be strictly opposed to add the connect support. I just think we should do it in a way to make sure it can be used in the future and so on.
Okay, so I fully agree now with the client side. I mean, from the discussion, I've been convinced that this was not the good idea, and using test clients with plain upstream test containers. That's easy enough, and we don't need to add more code to that. Okay, so I think it's probably makes sense to keep the proposal focus on just Kafka Connect and ignore Mirror Maker 2 for now. I mean, if you want to run Mirror Maker 2, you can start a plain Kafka Connect and start the Mirror Maker 2 connector. If somebody needs to do that, that's the interim solution.
Yeah, so my main point about Mirror Maker 2 is that like that's really a single purpose thing for the like you might want to test the metrics reporter for Mirror Maker 2, right? But it's really a single purpose thing. Like what are the other use cases for running Mirror Maker 2 in a test container?
But I think testing Mirror Maker 2 would make sense once the reporter is integrated in Strimzi. So then in the Kafka operator, you would maybe have some tests for the Kafka Mirror Maker 2 Strimzi thing. But here I'm just like in the metrics reporter repo, I'm just testing with all the clients, and I think testing with Connect, if it works in Connect, there's no reason it doesn't work in Mirror Maker 2 because Mirror Maker 2 is just Connect.
Then let's focus on Connect there and do a proposal first, I guess.
Okay, so I mean if Marosh, Lukash are able to help, that would be great. I'm happy to start looking at the proposal. I think so that's one point of this whole test issue. The other point was about the admin client. So in Kafka tests, we can start consumer, producer, we can start streams. And I've used those and I've written tests with those, and those are fine. We can also start an admin client, but the way it's implemented is that you run a single command. So basically, my test has no chances of starting the admin client and being able to quickly enough hit the rest endpoint, because literally the client runs in seconds. So what I would like to do is also change the way the admin client works in Kafka test, in a test client. So is it something people are also open to do? Do we also need a proposal? What are people's thoughts about that?
Maybe we should first get done with this issue here.
I thought the other one would be easier. That's why I'm also proposing.
Paolo, can you also change the title of this issue from add client support to add connect support? Thanks.
Because the other one is also, I guess, would be in the test clients repository. It's another, I guess, would be in the, I mean, if I understand things correctly, because we already have the admin client there already, but it just, you can't configure, what I would like to have is to configure it to run the same command multiple times, for example, or run a chain of commands so you can keep it running for some amount of time.
I guess Marosh is the only one on the call who can speak for that.
Yeah, you think about the test client, right?
Yes.
So yeah, the current way that how we implement it is just one command, as you mentioned. So maybe we should wait on also Lukasz, what he thinks about that and how he would approach that, because I didn't really implement one single line in the test client's repository. So I'm not sure what is possible, what is not.
Yeah, because there,
But I know that there is only one command which you're just executing from jar.
Yeah, and so yeah, there's the admin client works very differently. I mean, there's like it's separate module altogether. It works very differently than producer, consumer, and streams.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but
but
basically, I mean, in the end, it's a bit like the producer. So the producer, I say, oh, I want to start a producer, and I wanted to produce 1,000 records. It's basically a way to keep it alive enough for long enough for me to test the metrics, and as soon as I got the metrics, I can just kill it. But for the admin client, there's no way to tell it do something for a duration of time. It just runs a single command every time. So having a way to say, rerun this command multiple times or run this chain of commands to artificially keep it alive, like I'm doing for the producer, would be really useful.
yeah, I think maybe open the issue is the right start, or maybe ask Lucas privately about that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same, that maybe opening an issue would be the way to start the discussion.
Yeah, describe the problem and maybe we can look at that.
So in the test clients, I believe there's really discussion, or I think this was discussed somewhere already briefly. But I'm happy to follow up with Lukasz directly if
Yeah, I think that would be right choice.
I've already taken quite a bit of time on the call, so
Mikael, just to give you some clarity, the test clients are basically internal Strimzi thing for Strimzi testing. It's not expected to be used anywhere outside of Strimzi. Whereas the test container, whether we like it or not, is already used elsewhere. So that's why also the discussion to the changes maybe need different levels.
right.
You know?
You're saying we may be a bit more free to do more arbitrary changes in test client because it's only used within Strimzi as long as we don't break other Strimzi changes, while this the public API. Okay, makes sense.
Okay, so I guess that we agreed on that, Mikael is going to work on a proposal for this, right? So we have 4 minutes. I guess we can take another one, hoping it will not take long.
I think it's me again.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that it's a short one. So I because it's support for HTTPS.
We can leave. I mean, it's not urgent. I'm not planning to implement it.
Yeah, I would say let's leave it for the next time because I
So-
guess that it will start a new discussion.
So did someone else than me comment on it?
No, we were just waiting for you, Jakub, last time.
So I just want to clarify the comments I made there. I don't think I'm necessarily against adding the support to that. For me, that would be priority 0, because I think the practical implementation is really hard and the demand for it is actually pretty slow. And what I mean with practical implementation is that the pool-based metrics mean that if you want to use TLS, you need to configure all the TLS stuff on the server side, and the actual Prometheus server or Thanos or whatever will be pulling the metrics. That basically needs to just trust it or use the right client certificate. But the server side is distributed across all the applications. So that's also one reason why we, for example, don't really support it or plan to support it in the Strimzi operands, because like, how would it work? Would we use our own CA to secure the metrics endpoints? Would someone need to make sure his Prometheus trusts our CA? And it's even worse for the clients. Now imagine the clients are running somewhere on Amazon EC2 instances or on Kubernetes pods. Every time they restart, their pod IP changes or their host name changes. Now you have to make sure they have the right certificates. The certificates have the right SANs inside so that the TLS hostname verification can pass. And then the Prometheus server trusts these certificates, eventually knows what client certificates it should use for MTLS authentication, and so on. So that's why I think on the practical level, doing this, using this in practice, probably adding the support for it in the metrics reporter is fairly simple, but using this in practice, I think will be very hard, and I don't think there's much interest in it from my experience. So that's why I'm fine if you want to add this, Mikhail, but for me personally, this would be like super, super, super low priority.
So
But otherwise, I don't have problem to keep the issue and have it.
So I agree with everything you said. The reason, I guess I agree, apart on the priority. I don't think it's super, super, super low. I think it's super low, maybe, or super, super low. So one of the reasons is feature parity with JMX exporter. So we want this reporter to be a potential replacement for people running Kafka, even without Strimzi. And if they're already using the HTTPS endpoint or with a JMX exporter, as you said, it shouldn't be too hard to implement, and here we could basically match the feature set. Say, well, and the other thing is, even though that's hard to deploy in practice, from experience, if you work in any regulated environment, basically all connections have to be HTTPS. Like if you want SOC 2, HIPAA.
You know how many regulated environments run Strimzi without the support for TLS on metrics?
I don't know, but I've run a regulated environment, and it was a pain to set up, but we had to do it soon.
I didn't use it in my previous jobs, and like Strimzi doesn't support it, and it's used in plenty regulated environments.
Well, I'm not going to be the one to pay the fines, and if you fail your SOC validation or whatever, or your HIPAA validation. But I thought like it was relatively easy to implement on our side. You tick a box, but like basically sort of expected to tick. Yeah, I mean, it's not urgent. I don't think we need to implement that. My priority is, before we add any other feature to Matrix Reporter, complete the tests. So then we have a integration test suite we are confident with. Then we can add some more stuff, and we're sure we don't break things. So I would focus on adding the test first. Then there's the reconfigurability issue as well. I don't think it's been marked as triage. I guess everybody, or maybe I should have marked it as triage, as to triage. Or if people are happy with it, we need to go do it. But those are my priorities currently.
Guys, sorry.
So I'm not controlling your time. So I think, Paolo, you should just mark it as something we want to do.
Yeah, exactly. I was
like,
going to say that.
Honestly, it's up to whoever contributes that. In this case, probably up to you, Mikhail, when you find time for it or don't find time for it, right? Like my own intention of the comment on the issue was that I think it's low prior and that's it. But yeah, we can definitely keep the issue, and yeah, if you have time for it, then you have time for it, and that's completely fine with me.
Well, maybe second quarter next year, but I doubt this will happen before.
Okay, so we run out of time. We are 3 minutes
Sorry.
over. Yeah, no
It
worries.
depends.
I was sure that it was going to be even longer if we had more time. Yeah, so we will continue our triage next time. Okay, we are at the end. So any other business, just to give space to the others if they have something to discuss or something that maybe we can discuss next call. But at least we put on the agenda to remember that. Seems not. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Thank you.
See you around. Bye.
Much. Bye.